So the other day, I was looking up information on what makes the difference between a happy marriage and one that ends in divorce. And I found a study that defines the process of a successful relationship as one that goes through 5 separate stages.
Ugh, really? Another one of these 5-stage things? I'm really not in the mood.
Hold on now. This one's different. It was done by author and relationship counselor Dr. Susan Campbell, and it was done after interviews with over 100 couples and written in her book, The Couple's Journey, Intimacy as a Path to Wholeness.
Okay, we're listening.
Alright, the 5 stages are romance, power struggle, stability, commitment, and co-creation/bliss. According to this observation, the happiest couples are the ones that learn how to settle their differences after falling in love. Then, they get married only after they truly learn to settle their conflicts so that they both can win. Most couples don't follow this process, though. They get married during the first stage, the romance stage. Moving on to the power struggle stage, they start to wonder, what happened to the person that I married?
And thus the saying, honeymoon's over.
Exactly!
Hey, you know what couple perfectly reflects the dilemma and the communication breakdowns that impede progress of their relationship?
I'm sure there are plenty of movies that have portrayed marriage problems.
Lester and Carolyn from American Beauty.
Honey, don't be weird.
All right, honey, I won't be weird.
Okay.
You guys have heard the phrase, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
Of course.
And you've also heard the phrase, out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
Have you noticed that these two commonly accepted phrases seem to contradict each other?
Now that you mention it, they do seem to be counterintuitive when juxtaposed like that.
So, one of them has to be wrong?
Well, according to the relational dialects theory, both are right. Or at least they are right at different times. Take human social behavior, for example. We desire to have contact with other people, but we also value our alone time. These forces pull us in contradictory ways in our relationships, and we utilize different strategies to satisfy these impulses. For Lester and Carolyn, they chose to follow different relationship impulses at different points in their life. Early in their relationship, they pursued the romantic interest of each other. Later in their marriage, they pursued others.
Carolyn had an affair with her business rival, and Lester fell in love with a high school girl. I think that's a little far-fetched.
I don't know. Love can make people do weird things.
Look, the reason that Lester and Carolyn couldn't be happy in their marriage was because of their conflict strategies.
Okay, so they handled conflict poorly.
But how exactly was their conflict strategy a poor one?
I'm sure you could offer a better explanation than me.
There are 5 different conflict styles depending on your concern for yourself and your concern for others. Avoidance, accommodation, competition, compromise, and collaboration. In the beginning of American Beauty, Lester settled his conflicts with Carolyn through avoidance and accommodation.
Lester?
He didn't want to risk hurting his relationship, so he didn't confront his problems with her. He didn't stand up for himself, and the problem with that conflict style is that his problems didn't go away.
What about later in the movie, when Lester started to talk back to Carolyn?
That was the competition conflict style. Lester and Carolyn had gone through a change, shedding their traditional ideals about the American dream, and had decidedly become more concerned with themselves than each other. The problem with this conflict style is that it led to hostility and ridicule instead of constructive criticism and cooperation.
Okay, so they weren't able to come to agreeable terms in their arguments because they didn't show enough concern for themselves and each other at the same time.
What else could they have done? What specific act could they have put into practice that would have improved their relationship?
I'm glad you asked. According to the International Listening Association, listening is the process of receiving, interpreting meaning from, and responding to a message. Empathetic listening goes a step further to interpret the emotional meanings of a message. In the first family dinner scene, Lester tried to reach out to his daughter by telling her about his day.
You asked us, you couldn't possibly care less, could you?
Well, what do you expect? You can't all of a sudden be my best friend just because you had a bad day.
she shot him down, and it left him feeling visibly dejected. How did Carolyn respond when he looked up at her? She smirked at him in a manner that mocked his ability as a parent. Empathetic listening is about being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. If Carolyn had been able to take care to notice how Lester felt, then her nonverbal behavior would have shown sympathy.
Lester didn't exactly show that he cared about Carolyn's feelings either.
That's right, when Carolyn smirked, Lester didn't show any concern for her feelings either. He immediately tried to make himself feel better by bringing her down a peg.
Oh, what? Your mother of the year? You treat her like an employee.
What? What?
As a result, neither of them left that conversation feeling satisfied.
Sounds like empathetic listening could have really helped their relationship.
So, American Beauty has shown us that poor interpersonal communication skills can be detrimental to the relationship of couples that haven't figured out how to resolve their struggles.
And it has shown that relational dialect can help explain why couples like Lester and Carolyn fall out of love.
It showed that their lack of concern for either themselves or each other led to poor conflict strategies.
And it showed that we need to pay attention to the feelings of others when speaking.
Doesn't this all sound kind of obvious? I mean, everyone knows you shouldn't act like a jerk.
Is it really? Understanding these concepts is one thing, but putting them into practice is another. I think everyone could learn something from this, including ourselves.